Well, hello, and welcome to After the Show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis. And did you just love Ash? Like I said in the intro, I could have just hung out with her all day, I feel like, and something that's really cool that got to happen. So we met for the first time at New York Now, had this great interview. We invited her to Evolve and she attended, which was just a couple of weeks ago of me filming this. And Ash and I had the opportunity to hang out and chat a little bit at one of our cocktail receptions. And we were having just such an important conversation, in my opinion. And that's what I want to focus today's After the Show on. So it's the stuff that we didn't talk about in the episode, but just what her and I were talking about, which was the importance of having a strong community of people who get it, people who understand what you're going through as a retailer and as a business owner. And, we were just talking about like sometimes there are people that come in your life for a reason, a season, a lifetime. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but when I heard that years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. You have those people in your life that they are lifers. They always come back around, like they're solid. They're going to be with you for the rest of your life. But sometimes we have people that are there for a reason or a season. And we could grow out of these relationships. And because we are evolving, we change. And I think that as business owners, you have to connect with other business owners, or you have to connect with people who understand what it's like, because it is very different than working a 9 to 5. You are taking all the risk. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's like this internal, like you just really want it to work and you are just trying your hardest, giving it your all. You think about it all the time. It's like you eat, breathe, sleep your business, your work. I know I'm not alone in this. I know there are retailers listening to this. And when we have people in our lives, which could be friends, could be family members who aren't entrepreneurs, who aren't business owners, who haven't worked for a small business, and they have 9 to 5s, it is a lot more challenging for them to understand and relate. And it's funny, just a couple weekends ago, we got together for family birthdays. In my family here in Colorado, like every quarter, we get together and celebrate the birthdays of that quarter. We've been doing this since I was a kid. And, but we used to do it monthly and now everybody's so busy. So now we do it quarterly. And my cousins were there and I go around to each of my cousins. I'm like, what's up, cuz? How's it going? What's new? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Every single one of them I talk to and nobody asked me anything. And when we were driving home, Dustin and I was like, did you notice how I talked to all my cousins and like checked in on them and what's going on in their life and nobody said anything to me? And we've talked about this. This happens all the time. It's happened for many years. And there's this thing that I think happens is if it's not relatable, like I think people don't know what to ask. And also they might not really care. So they don't ask. And we have to not put the pressure on those people. And we can't have our expectations that they'll ask or they care or they want to be involved or they'll understand. They won't. Everybody is living these busy, complicated lives. And I think that we have to really not put the pressure, not have those expectations on people in our lives. And when you remove that pressure and expectation, the relationship is better. It's easier. You feel lighter. Like I used to get upset about those things. Like when we lived in California and we would come back to Colorado for something and like nobody would ask me about my business and what was going on. And it baffled me and it would bother me, like keep me up at night. And then finally I had to work through that. I was like, okay, this has nothing to do with like they love me or not. It's just a matter of like, it's not relatable. Maybe they don't know what to ask. Maybe they don't really care how the business is, but they are happy to see me. They just want to be around me, like, so release that expectation. And man, once I did, I felt so much more free. I walked into those not being like, is anybody going to say anything to me? Instead, I walked in like, what's up? Like happy to see you guys. What's going on? And I just wanted to share that in today's After the episode because it's a piece of what Ash and I were talking about, because at the cocktail reception at Evolve, that was the day I announced Indera. I told everybody, I told the world, we have the Independent Retailers Association. It is now live. We call it Indera for Independent Era. We think it's your time to shine. And so much of this is about community and is about support and bringing you retail pros and bringing you guys together to learn from each other and bringing in successful retailers that we can learn from, doing roundtables, being a fly on the wall and learning from these people. So Ash and I were talking about, like, in our circles, kind of in our personal life, you often just don't have that. And we crave it. I remember about 10 years ago, I was just searching for mentorship, for a coaching program. I looked at, I think it's called Vistage or Vistage, which is like a kind of coaching thing that they have all sorts of pop-ups everywhere. And then there's Strategic Coach, which I did join. There was this launch club for internet marketers. I joined that. It was like, I was just joining all these things because I felt so alone and I wanted to be around people who got it. And there is just something magical about talking to people and having friends in your life who get it, that can ask you those questions, that can challenge you, that can help put your mind at ease, that can be like, yo, you got to give yourself some grace. Like, this is hard. Why are you like freaking out about it? Like, they just have a different perspective because they've been in it. And those are the people we should be having the conversations about our business to, versus to people who don't get it or trying to force it and having those expectations and then feeling really let down. And so with our community, Ash was just saying, like, how cool, like, this is what people need. They need a community. It's challenging to find people that do get it. And I think that retail also has another level, another layer, because you do have so many financial responsibilities. You've got your storefront, you've got your inventory, like, you are a business that has a lot of overhead, which can create more of those financial stresses. And ultimately, what it needs to create is really good systems, really good data, really understanding your numbers and making data-driven decisions, not emotional-driven decisions. And we've got people that can support you in that in our community. That's why I bring in the pros. That's why we have this podcast. This podcast is a way to help you on a free level by bringing these conversations to you. And then if you need additional support, we've got it inside of our association. So of course, I hope you join us. You could join for $25 a month. We made it incredibly affordable. And that $25 a month includes the community. So if you feel alone, if you feel like you need another business owner, if you feel like, am I crazy, or this is happening, or how should I handle this? Talk to people who get it. You'll get better answers. You'll shortcut a lot of issues if you learn from the people who have been through it already. That just saves you so much time and so much hassle. You just don't know what you don't know. And so I think community is so important. We've got it for you online in Indera, and we're going to do in-person pop-ups too, and meetups. But, you can also look within your own physical community. If there's a networking group, if there is, I've been in a lot of local networking groups. And actually, I was on a walk a couple weeks ago and ran into my neighbor. Her name's Kathy, and she's a small business owner. And we were just talking about business and talking about the local networking thing. She's been in all of them, and I've gone to a lot of them too. And sometimes those aren't great also, it's like people are there to just they're only there to sell their stuff. They're not looking there to build a relationship. They're not there for the support. They don't they maybe are not at that level of success yet where it's new levels, new devils. Like, they're kind of challenging team things or financial things or scaling and growth. And so sometimes in those beginner, it's harder for maybe a more established business. But if you are a beginner retailer, some of those networking groups can be such a great place for you to go, learn, be a part of this, everything that goes with being a beginner. There's so many things you have to learn, and not going through it alone is so great. So look locally, look online. It may be a specific category you're wanting to explore. And we'd love to have you inside of Indera too. But I just think let's remove the expectations that we put on people in our lives to understand us, to relate to us, and find the right type of community that can support us and fill us up. And I think it will free you, like it did me, if you struggle with that at all. And then just be very conscious on where you're hanging out and who you're hanging out with. And I think now more than ever, our industry is so heavy. I'm so getting sick of the word tariffs, but it's true. you're just hearing it so much. The industry's changing a lot. Hang out with people that have an optimistic mindset, who are willing to roll up their sleeves. They're willing, the fight or flight, like they're willing to fight. It's not flight or freeze, right? We don't want the freezing. We don't want the panic. We don't want the fear. Like, we don't got time for that, people. Let's focus on what we can control. During moments like this, there's a lot of opportunities. And I talked about that on last week's show. I won't get all fired up like I did in last week's After the Show. If you need a little pep talk, go listen to that. But I just think that this is the time for us to surround ourselves with people who are optimistic, willing to fight, willing to show up, willing to evolve, willing to support each other, willing to relate, willing to share, willing to collaborate, which was such a theme of Ash's episode this week. So be conscious of who you hang out with, where you spend your time, what you're sharing, who you're getting information from, who you're getting advice from is another one too. Man, I've gotten some bad advice over the years I've taken because I thought that they were because it was from successful business owners, but they were giving me advice that works for them, not me. They didn't fully understand my situation in the business I want to run. And I've gotten some bad advice over the years that I've unfortunately taken, but we do learn from that. So I hope somebody finds this episode helpful. And as always, I'm always rooting for your success. And thank you for listening to this show. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Rooted in Retail podcast. It means the world to me to have you here. If you find value in this show and you listen on an iPhone, if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would be amazing. And if you watch YouTube, if you're a YouTube subscriber, we film this. And so if you rather watch the show, you can also do that over on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.